Assalamu alaikum from Košice, second biggest city in Slovakia. In today's video I want to talk about how did traveling become the god of Westerners, or generally modern people, any modern people in general. I've seen it on myself because I used to be obsessed with traveling, especially when I was in college or university. Essentially, I would just think like my country sucks and there's so many places in this world that I can explore and see, so why would I stay here? Doesn't make sense. So I would be traveling anytime I get a chance. My first trip was actually to Turkey to see my buddy Erdogan, and then I left the US, kind of studying there, spending approximately 1 year altogether, and then different countries like Finland, Berlin, Armenia, all over Europe. Yeah, and then Brazil. So it was really cool, you know. And then I went to Alaska as well. And I've built this habit of like, I don't want to be in Slovakia. It's so boring here, you know. People are so predictable because it's such a homogeneous society. And I always thought like it sucks and I just need to go away. And this is a typical kind of mindset of many modern people living in modern times. They just want to travel, enjoy their life. Essentially, in the long run, it doesn't make any sense. There are these digital nomads that live like this, but you're going against the structure of life. Usually, throughout millennia, people had a specific life. So they would work, then they would come home, they would spend time with their family, raise kids, and then go on, fight in the war. But they wouldn't travel that much. There wasn't tourism, it didn't exist. There were a few travelers, but they traveled for a purpose. If you travel for a purpose, it's completely different. There's a different reason if you travel for a workshop or for business than if I just want to go on a vacation, or I just want to see Brazil. Like, how stupid is that? You're never gonna experience the country, and there are these influencers who travel to every country and then they make a list like, I've been to 300 countries. Okay, so what? You've spent like 5 minutes in Slovakia. Do you think you understood the country? No, because even the small villages and towns have so much complications and complexities that it's impossible to understand. Let me tell you a story without exposing my sin. My friend used to have a friend girl, and she was so shy, she was so innocent, and then they decided to go to the US for the first time, but separated in different state. Basically, she had to work in a different state than this friend of mine had to work in, and then they broke up. But this poor girl who was so innocent and never traveled, never went alone outside of her village, she became hooked on these travel experiences, and it's been more than, what is it? It's been more than 13 years, I think, more than 12 years, and she is still traveling. She's still traveling in Australia and different countries around the world, and she's getting older, but she just can't stop. Why? Because there's even this like tagline: if traveling was free, I would never stop, or I would rather buy experiences than like house or something. And it makes sense, because from experiences you get something. House, it's all dunya, it's all materialism, and people hate materialism nowadays. They just want to like explore alternative ways of life. But this is like the biggest materialism, because your experiences are worthless. You get that? Your experiences of traveling, they are nice, but long term they don't do anything. You don't do anything. You could have learned from books some new ways of thinking. Yeah, you get to experience new stuff. You have a nice memory, maybe, and you have some friends, but it's all superficial. You can't build a great friendship through like meeting some strangers, sleeping with them, getting drunk. This is nothing. Look, gypsies are a bit loud. Is this racist? No, it's reality. So anyway, so you build this shallow friendships all around the world. You have this like identity problem because you don't belong in your home country, you're too advanced in traveling, yet you feel like, hey, I need to belong somewhere. So you're looking for this and you're traveling and you're trying to find out the purpose of life, the meaning behind all of this. You can't build a career because you can't stay in one place all the time, so you're broke, or essentially you're living off other people, or maybe you have a digital business, so then okay, maybe that's possible. But even then, if you're a founder, I'm a founder of a couple of companies, you can't travel all the time. It's impossible. To be effective, you need to stay in one place with good Wi-Fi and at least a couple of weeks, and then you can travel. Okay, cool. Yeah, who wouldn't like traveling, because you get new perspective. So if I go to Korea, I now understand something about it, but it's still superficial. So, but the thing is, that's like external growth. People think they can like grow their spirit through external experiences. Oh, the guy is peeing, I got it. But it's not external experiences that grow you, it's internally how you grow as a person, and those things help. But essentially it's all about getting deeper in yourself, and you can do that in the forest, or you can do it in Slovakia in your flat, or in London. Like, you don't have to go to Peru or some Amazon forest. You can get deeper spiritually where you are currently, and that is the real world. That is the real essence of finding some truth, because essentially these experiences are just helping you maybe find some other perspectives, but definitely not the truth. They might be even confusing you even more. Anyways, funny enough, I used to do this, and then I would even study, do like a digital nomad. So me and my wife currently, we would have like cultural migrants. That would be our blog, and we would get sponsored trips around Europe that hotels would give us free rooms and stuff, and we would go and travel and make a blog and video about it. And this was like a very fun thing, and I used to think like, this is great, this is like gonna be the next thing. But it was so superficial. All the travel bloggers in Facebook groups, they were like boosting their posts. It was like scratching your own itch, and it didn't have any meaning behind it. We just thought we're changing the world, sharing the perspective of traveling. Like, how dumb is that? Like, everyone's doing this. Like, no one cares about your travel experiences, only you, usually. After all this traveling, after all these experiences, after all this, plus becoming a Muslim, living in Prague, I've ended up in the city where I started, in Bystrica, where I started this whole journey, like 15 years ago. So I left in Slovakia. I'm back in Slovakia, and I'm very happy here. I'm very happy here, even though it's very difficult to live as a Muslim here. But there's a certain mission we have anyways. But this is so funny. Like, I found what I was looking for here, and the way I found it is like, hey, actually commitment is real. Like, getting married, now I'm having a son, now we're building a house. These things may look to someone who's traveling around the world like, this is stupid, you're being locked to one location. No, I'm not. I can travel anytime I want to, Dubai or New York or anywhere. Like, it's not like that, but you just need life, you just need a structure. If you want to have a family, you need a structure. So it's all about, what do you want? I think you need to travel for a bit, but some people make it their god, and they just forget their family, forget their kinship ties, forget their culture, tradition, and they just want to live this modern nightmare and party in the clubs. I think it's very superficial, and they pretend they're like enlightened. I hate that, because I used to be like that. So I found that having a son, having a family, having this, it's actually more exciting, more of an experience or something like that. And I'm in my town, small town, than like going to like New York or Dubai, because you're actually like building something long term. There's a purpose behind this, and it's fun. There's this idea of a global citizen, that you are traveling because you are a global citizen, and it's all like it's all nonsense, because essentially every country you visit was built by people who stayed there because they had some shared language or culture, which comes from people just staying in one place for centuries. That's how they built this culture. It's not just, if everybody traveled in the world, there wouldn't be any country, there wouldn't be any culture, nothing, because it's like everyone would just do their own thing. So this idea of a global citizen, it's actually a poisonous idea. It doesn't make any sense. But many people live like it. But essentially you belong somewhere. Like, I belong in Slovakia, even though I'm a Muslim, I'm a Slovak. So it's not like I belong here, I can live anywhere else, but I feel the best here because it's just where I feel. Like, people have natural feeling and inclinations. Of course, you can live anywhere you want. I lived in many countries and I loved it, but I felt I don't belong, because I didn't belong. I didn't know the language the best. I didn't look like people in that place and stuff like that. Anyways, it's this idea of global citizen, this extreme individualism, again, liberalism, and all this technology that enables people to travel freely and for cheap flights, Ryanair and EasyJet and all this, because this is the idea now. But my mom has never left my country. My mom has never traveled anywhere, like only like to Croatia or something. But I've been to like 50 countries. It's not normal. I don't think it's normal. So it's just because it's so cheap and easy, and then it destroys the traditions. So I don't think it's super healthy. My last point is, anyways, the basic categories in the world are just two according to Islam. You have believers and unbelievers, and this is what you should be like looking at. Do you believe in God or not? That's the biggest thing in your life. If you do not believe in God, then there's so much you're missing. There's so much. And you can be traveling in Antarctica, you can be in Mars, you can be with Bill Gates on the spaceship, but the guy in Yemen in a desert will have a more successful and purposeful life because of his connection to the divine. So it's dumb to just externally find some happiness. You gotta go internal. Let me just check this stuff, because I think I can go in. This is professional shirk, but it's a very nice building, to be honest. Look at the idolatry. This is where you go and confess your sins. I used to go confess my sins to that box, to a dude who was probably touching himself, I don't know. It's such a strange system to confess a sin to another human being who represents God. Come on, man, you gotta do better than that. Use your brain, leave Christianity, come back to Islam, bro. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.